Welcome to our YouTube channel on Success and Women. Women helping women.
Come join us.
See you soon. Welcome to this week's episode of Success and Women. I'm Linda.
I'm Andrea.
And today we're going to be talking about embracing change. But before we get into that, Andrea's got her tip of the week.
Well, this is something I recently discovered, and maybe I'm the last to know. But, you know, our little green bins underneath the sink. It's always a struggle. You know, people putting food in, the bag slips, falls. It's hard to get it around the top. Well, I discovered last week at the very back, there's two little notches. And what you do is you take the bag and you put it inside, but you take the back and you clip those onto those two little notches. And then it's so much easier to put it around the perimeter, and the bag never falls in when you're throwing food in. I couldn't believe it after all this time and how many bags I've had to scoop out and get my hands dirty.
And remember the mustard?
And the mustard.
It's the same idea, that little tip
The
where
little,
you
yes.
put in your top at the back.
At the
Click,
back.
and
Click.
it's done.
Just little things that, you know, if you're not told, you don't know until you discover them. But I discovered it, and wow, that has helped change my garbage day dilemmas.
That's good, because I remember myself having that, digging out that bag because it's fallen, and all that fresh food scraps that you're putting in there, it's not pleasant.
And it's amazing how it works. It just you just clip them in, like you don't clip them in, they're just two little
loop it in there.
Loop it in like yes, it just grabs the bag and keeps it there. Fabulous.
Good. So in case you're wondering, ladies, I'm wearing my Success in Women t-shirt today. It's kind of that drabbier day, and I wanted to be cozy because I'm going out later, and I also want to be quite comfortable. But it doesn't impact the fact that we can talk about change. And even from something, you know, just dressing up all the time and being able to change, and once in a while, you know, change to the point to being comfortable. Recently, I heard, you know, this person talking and saying, people have to kind of change with the times. They can't always appear to be, I'll say, too businesslike or too stuck in a certain look, because it's always been. And so it got Andrew and I thinking about, in life, all the changes that are going on constantly. And sometimes, and you'll find that a lot with older people, they don't like to change.
Resist.
They do resist.
Yes. And, you know, I always say the more you can adapt and grow from these changes, the better it is for you. And I'm not talking always life-altering changes. I'm just talking little changes that might maybe tend to throw you off. A grocery store might be closing in your neighborhood, and you're like, oh no, where am I going to get my groceries now? But you might find another store locally that you'll enjoy better, or you talk to a friend, they tell you, and you enjoy better, or something that might be closer. Little changes. If you're stuck in a mood, you're not feeling good, every day you're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Maybe a new hairstyle. Go online, check and see if there's something that appeals to you, and get it done. It's only hair. You know, if you hate it, then it grows out. But you're more than likely, you're going to love it, and you're going to feel great. Now, I have a friend who loves moving her furniture. Nothing makes her feel better or lift her mood than to change the sofa. My furniture can stay in the same place for 30 years.
Mine
I could care less. But I do like a new hairstyle. That lifts me up. You know, and it lifts her up to move her furniture, and that's a good thing.
Well, it's interesting because one of my friends also loves to move her furniture around. And matter of fact, every time you go there, her living room's changed.
Yeah, you don't dare sit down anywhere that you were last time because it might not be there.
Well, and
you'll end up on the floor.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. So one time she'd moved the furniture, and her husband worked shift work, and he came in at night, and he went to sit down where he normally would sit to, I think, to take his shoes or boots off or whatever. And he went to sit down, because it's always there for him, and he fell on the floor because she had moved the furniture.
Oh,
and he
that's
didn't want to put the
hilarious.
lights on.
No.
Anyway, it was the funniest thing, and it goes,
And there's a good story.
Oh.
A good story that you can tell people.
but he got used to it after a while to start what you said exactly, looking, because that was happening very often. But you know, funny enough, even where I work on my full-time job, years ago, we had an opportunity where we could actually go paperless. Now, it wasn't our company that was promoting that, but I've always hated paper. And the reason is because I had filing cabinets coming out of my yin-yang everywhere. I didn't even know where to put the filing cabinets anymore because I had so much paper, because you literally had to photocopy and have duplicates of everything. And so, and my files were getting thicker and thicker and thicker, and we'd have to purge
Sure.
them and shove them off site.
Storage,
But
yeah.
that took a lot of time. And even the filing, because my assistant would be so busy during the week, and I'd say, well, just on Friday, about half an hour before, you know, you go home, maybe that's how you finish your day and your week. But it go bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was like, oh my God, like she could never get caught up. So we
Right.
hired summer students. Anyway, in the end, I was out at a business meeting from met a person from another office that had gone paperless, but I didn't know that at the time. He was trying to recruit me to go work in his office. So I go and I'm looking around and I'm like,
Where's the filing cabinets?
exactly. That was my question. I said, where are all your filing cabinets? Because he was a very successful person. And I'm like, I'm not seeing it anywhere. And part of where the receptionist is and some of the other admin people were all in like a bullpen. So you had to have filing cabinets because that's how it was in our office. He comes and he shows me one filing cabinet.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait a minute, well, where's all the files? He said, we're paperless.
Wow.
I go back to the office and I asked my boss, I said, I'd like to go paperless. And he said, well, you know what, as long as it's, I don't know, I think he had to check with compliance or something. But anyway, he checked with head office to find out, and they didn't have a problem. And so we went paperless. And so every file, instead of being filed, got scanned. And then at that time, our company was actually allowing us to box it and ship it off site.
Oh, nice.
They don't do that anymore. And
Oh.
so now I'm not responsible for any of the paper. If we need the files, we can call it back.
Right.
But the great thing is you walk in our offices now, no filing cabinets except for one. A lot of it has other things in it. My assistant uses it almost like for storage and stuff, but we have like one little tiny folder for each person.
Perfect.
But it really works well. And in the office environment, people had a hard time with that. And to this day, and this was probably 10 years ago or close to it, we still have some people, Andrea, that have filing cabinets like bursting at the seams because they have everything paper because they can't change.
Accept the change. They
And
resist.
yet, when
Yes.
clients will call, within seconds, you want something, it's here, we
So
e-file
that
it.
change was very good.
Very productive because
Very.
I
Save
think
time, space,
Money.
money, and for the environment. All that
Oh, yes.
wasted paper that
Oh.
people use.
unbelievable. And so sometimes you can think, well, because initially it was a lot of work because we had to scan every file.
Yes, I can imagine.
And that's why sometimes people fight change.
Yes.
But you know, one of the other things, and again, I know it's like I'm repeating myself all the time about Dr. Laura, but I do listen to her. But sometimes change needs to happen in life, and you're stuck in a bad marriage.
Yes. Oh.
And that's a big change, and it's hard because you know what you're dealing with, and sometimes you find it's easier to
Just fake.
and put up
Yeah.
instead of making the change because it's scary. And I
It's
know that
very
can be
scary.
a huge, not just change, but scary journey for you. And depending on if you've got
Children.
support. Well, children is one, but support from
Support
family
from
and friends because
family,
they don't
right.
always want to support.
Because you don't know what to do. Sometimes you're just stuck, like you say, in a bad marriage, but you don't know where to go, what to do. But there are so many people out there that have been down that road, and a lot of help out there for women.
But you know why I say that, Andrea? Sometimes because you don't always get that support. If somebody sees your partner as somebody great,
Yeah.
they don't understand, because what goes on behind closed doors is only for the two of you to know.
Right.
And so when I first split up with my husband, I got no family support at all, because my family loved my ex-husband so much that they almost basically, said it was me and not him.
Right.
Although he was an alcoholic and they didn't live with the alcoholic. And I said, unless you walk in my shoes, don't judge me.
Right.
And only much, much later did they realize what a challenge that was, and a challenge for me to have dealt with it. Because I went back because I felt like I was on this journey myself with no support from people because they liked him so much.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but what I was going to say with Dr. Laura, what she always says is, do you want that to be your life between now and dead?
Right. Exactly. And how do they say, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expect change.
Yep.
You just can't. You have to step out of your comfort zone and do the change. If that's what you really want, if you want to be happy, if you're miserable at your job, in your marriage, with your look, think about change.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be all at once.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be
steps,
over the top. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Especially with the job. Maybe you start scouting out something that you think, and you do that part-time. You keep your job because you need the income or whatever.
Or take a course.
Or take it, yes.
Maybe take a night course is something that you want to work towards. Maybe even volunteer in something you think you might want to change to, because then maybe it's not what you're looking for. Like my daughter, she thought years ago she was going to be a hairdresser. She loved it. She started out really great, took the course, paid the money, and started working in the field, and wasn't for her.
Wow.
Back to school she went, but at least, because I knew she wasn't happy, and I said, Sarah, if this is not what you want, let's make a change.
Yeah.
And I always said when she was little, she should be a teacher. That was her attitude. That was her, I could tell she'd be a great teacher. And then she did go back to that and finally got her degree, and a little bit later but at least she made the change and she's happy. If she'd just said, well, I paid the money, I took the course, I might as well stick it out, she would have been miserable.
And that happens a lot, because people will go to school, they go when they're younger, they're not really sure what they want to do. They think they know, and they take that path. But sometimes, to please parents or other people, they continue, but they're not happy.
Exactly.
And
well, like I told you about that famous archaeologist in Egypt, she became a lawyer because she's Brazilian, because that's what her parents wanted and expected. So she got her law degree, worked for quite a while to, I guess, accumulate a nice sized bank account, and then she went on to be a full-time archaeologist. Wow. And she's been in Egypt now for I don't know how long. She's the one that will definitely find Cleopatra if she's out there to be found, because that's what she's aiming for. So yeah, change can happen, and in order for you to be truly, truly happy, you have to be true to yourself. You have to do what you love, be who you want to be around people you want to be. If you're not happy with your circle of friends,
make a change.
Go to a different pub, go to a different restaurant, go find a new sport to be involved in,
whatever you're interested.
Don't go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because there are people out there that are bad influence, and you don't want to, maybe you don't, like I heard somebody say, oh yeah, I have a ton of friends, sure, I can just change. Well, yes, you can. Stay home for a bit, maybe, and like I said, join a bowling league or a curling club. Make a change.
Yeah.
Force yourself out there, and you'll be surprised. And of course, those are just everyday changes. And I have to tell the story about, for me, because as most of you know, my husband's a builder, and believe it or not, I've moved 22 times in that time frame.
She's an expert.
Yes. So, and not that we were out of the province or out of the country. It was always in the basically local area. And I always tried to keep the kids in their same school. So mostly the change was for me because I had to
Yeah.
pack, unpack, drive the children, find new neighbors and that. But the funny part was, and I was always fine with it. I never had a problem moving. It was never an issue. But my kids, so here was the funny thing. Every time we did move, oh, I don't want to move. I like it here. I like my friends. I said, funny, that's the same thing you said the last time we moved. But now you're happy here and you have better friends or newer friends and you don't want to leave those friends.
That's funny.
So do you see a pattern here? Every time you move and we
Yeah.
change, it just expands.
Yeah, it opens up
opens
something.
your mind to new people, new friends, new
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah, new opportunities.
New opportunities,
It's interesting. I was telling you earlier that a lot of times it's older people that don't like change. And again, in my office, there are some younger people that don't want to change. But my mother, who's 92 years old, actually loves change.
Yeah.
And when I say that, my mother, you moved because your husband's a builder and you kept, changing homes and stuff that he would build. My mother just liked to move. And it was like, she'd get bored almost very quickly.
Right.
Now, part of the thing made it easy. She always got everybody else to do all the work. And we got to the point where we had to say, Mom, you want to move, you're on your own. You got to
Right.
deal with whatever you got to deal with because
Yeah.
it was just too much. But she's constantly doing that. So my mother's always embraced change, not even realizing that she didn't like things always the same.
Right.
Which is interesting because most people don't want that. It upsets them in all aspects because
Right.
they can't get used to it. They know exactly, when you talk about furniture, exactly where everything's placed, everything else. My mother, it doesn't matter. If you went over there and moved things in her cupboard, she'd find it, but she wouldn't worry that it's not in the same place all the time because she embraced change her whole entire life.
Wow.
And you know what I think it started was the fact that my mom left home at 17.
Right.
She left her province, her home, her province, her parents, her family, and went, to,
Right.
I'll say from, it was only one province away, but the point was it was far enough away and distant. She wasn't going home every weekend. And back then, she was moving to a new city, not knowing absolutely anybody, but to get married to, my father. And it was like,
And live in the boonies.
and live in the
Where
boonies.
she met my mother.
But on
In
the other hand,
boonies.
it was almost a bigger boonie than where she came from because she
no,
was,
my mother came from she came from Nova Scotia in Truro, which was a thriving city.
my mother
to
came from
the
a farm.
boonies. Yeah,
that
so
was like, I think the
So my mom
population is
didn't-
still very little.
my mom wasn't happy about that change. I can guarantee you that.
Well, my mother
But she
never
adapted.
Yeah, but my mom, that was the one thing. She just never complained about change. But she never said, I want to change. She just always would do
Right.
things that
To
made
change.
it, to make it
I
a
guess
change,
that
yeah.
that there's people like that, like you say. Some people are they just like their comfort
Yes.
zone. They want to be always knowing where things are. They don't want unexpected anything. And
Don't move that.
Yeah. Oh yes. And I remember when I lived with my mother-in-law. Like I would move something and I come back and it'd be back in the same old place. I say, really? Why? But
She didn't
people
like change.
are creatures of
Habit, yes.
Yes, and sometimes that gets you in a rut, and
That's true.
you don't feel happy, you don't feel excited about life. So change it up a bit. If like I said,
Even in your marriage, Andrea, can
Oh,
you
yeah.
imagine if all of a sudden, like, you greeted your husband at the door, with a great big bow on you and like giving him kisses all over and telling
shock 'em.
yeah, your partner that you've missed them all day, that like they don't even know, who is this person? Is she on drugs? I mean, like,
Well, that happens. It's funny because you said that because many years ago, I felt like the same thing. Eddie and I were just on a rut a day, the kids in, kids out, work in, work out, just, hey, how are you, blah, blah, blah. And just sometimes I wouldn't even know he was already gone for work in the morning. But I made a conscious decision, and I can't tell you how many years ago it was, that I was not going to let him walk out the door because I had heard so many stories about people saying that something happened that last,
Yeah.
you know, and they never said goodbye or whatever. And I said, you know, I don't want that to be me, or even with my children.
Yes.
I made a conscious decision that, first of all, when we got up, now we both say good morning to each other, which was always, hey,
Yeah.
hey, you know, cup of coffee, yeah, okay. Now it's good morning, good morning. And then before he leaves, he'll say, okay, I'm leaving now. I say, okay, have a great day. And the first day I said it to him, he went, what? I said, have a great day. He goes, oh, okay, you too. And so now that's been a constant now.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying it once to somebody. He said, it changed so much for him. It made him feel so good when he got in his car.
And
made
I bet
his
you,
day.
and also makes his day to come home,
Right.
knowing how much he's loved and appreciated,
Right.
because you set him off with a good tone.
Yeah.
And he's going to come home knowing that he's welcome there.
Right.
And it's not like, oh God,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah.
Yeah, what's she gonna be in? Mood she gonna be in now? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that
Little
that's,
things like that make a
little
difference.
things. That was just a little thing that maybe it doesn't mean something to somebody else,
Yeah.
but to him it meant a lot.
Wow.
And he never said anything, and I never said anything, and he didn't initiate it. I
Yeah.
guess he figured, oh well, you know. But and even with my girls, they never leave this house without because you know I'm up before anybody.
Yeah.
So before they go to work, I always give them a hug and a kiss, and then say, you know, have a great day. I love you. Drive safe.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of difference.
It does.
I can see the change, especially in the one daughter coming down to a miserable day. And by the time she leaves, she has a smile on her face. And like today, I went, it's Friday. And she said, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, okay, Mom. But, you know, I know it lifted her spirits. So, you know, change things up. Like, make people happy around you. It'll make you happy.
And really, it makes a difference in being more successful
Absolutely.
in whatever your journey is.
Absolutely.
Because you can't be down and holding yourself back when you're so open and happy and making people around you happy, that it just lifts you.
And you can't make changes if you're
Yes.
depressed.
That's the other thing. So if you are, you get help, because there are places that you can go that can, you know, help you through whatever is holding you back, that's making you sad or depressed or whatever it is.
That you can't even make a change.
Yeah. Well, because sometimes you can't make a decision.
No, you can't.
And that's why you can't change, because it's like,
Yeah,
I can't.
anxiety
It
sets
is.
in.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of people
Oh, yes.
that struggle with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But we hope for those of you that are not struggling, that are just, I'm going to say almost lazy, that you just get too set in your ways. Start making small changes.
Right.
Just embrace those little changes.
Wear a different color that you've never
Yes.
worn before. Change your lipstick,
Yeah.
your hairstyle, your furniture.
Yeah.
Little steps like that. Believe you me, they lift your mood.
They do.
They make you want to do more. Say, well, that felt good. Maybe this will make me feel even better.
There you go. So that's our episode for this week, ladies. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you
Like,
share.
and please subscribe.
We need those thumbs up there, and we need you to pass it on,
Please do.
because it's women helping women. Don't forget. I'm Linda.
I'm Andrea.
Until next week.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.